It's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here in the studios of Unity 93.3 FM. Today is Tuesday, the 14th day in the month of November 2023. Petrus Adamu Iji remains my name this lovely Tuesday morning, and we are reaching you live from the city of Jos, Plateau State, Nigeria. To be precise, on the hills of ZINARIYA in Jos North. Okay, it's Unity Trend, and of course there's Unity 93.3 FM and TV. Today in the studio, I am left alone with my listener and my viewer this morning. And we are looking forward to having Professor Bamayi in the studio this morning. Before he comes in, let's begin to compile those issues that you have in your community that needs attention, that should, be tackled. Okay, on the recent editions, the last segment I had of Unity C2 reports was so much more about the need to begin to compile issues that has to do with those which you need in your community. And so let's see how we'll make it work. Let's see how we make it work so that let's just have few of those things that are bothering you as a community, even as Prof, gets his seat this morning. Very quickly, in case you are already tuned to Unity 93.3 FM and TV, I wouldn't mind to pick your call. You might be that individual who will speak for his community this morning. And 0703235315 is the line for you to be a part of it this morning. Professor P.H. Bamayi, Dean Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, University of Jos, is already seated, and we'll just begin the segment newspaper review. But of course, I've already told you that I would love to hear what is that is troubling you in your community. Is it about water? Of course, you can just call. Let's hear from you before our Prof catch his breath and then begins to let's review. All right, 0703235315. And as we wait on your call, why don't we let Professor, who is now seated in the studio, to say good morning to our listener and again to our viewer. Prof, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bitrus Iji, aka Kulbi.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, our viewers and our listeners. It's a wonderful day.
Yes.
And it promises to be a wonderful interactive session. We'll be having a good time together.
Yes.
This beautiful morning. And I would like to also remind our listeners and viewers, so let them know that today is celebrated around the world as the World Diabetes Day. And we need to take preventive measures against diabetes, which is a lifelong infection, it's chronic. There is a diabetic association even of Nigeria because millions of Nigerians are afflicted by diabetes. So take less sugar, take more water, plain water, more fruits, more vegetables as we join the world to celebrate the World Diabetes Day. And of course, we'll be discussing wonderful things, many things that have to do with our nation, Nigeria, and things of interest to us as Nigerians around the world. So please stay tuned to 93.3 FM radio and Unity TV. It promises to be a wonderful ride on Unity Train this beautiful morning. So good morning from the ZINARIYA Hills, Jos, Plateau State, Nigeria.
Yes, good morning. That was from Professor P.H. Bamayi. Good morning from the hills of ZINARIYA here in Jos North, Plateau State, Nigeria, the home of peace and tourism. Of course, I would have loved to hear from you. What is it that you would want to call attention as regards that which is troubling you as a community? Is it about water supply? Because I've seen a lot of people, kids, children who should have been in school, still wandering on the street, going around with empty buckets. That is to say, even where they have been to since early morning, there was no water for them, and so they would have to be going round and round, and still there's still no water. You may want to say that before we go on with the segment. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Oh, thank you very much. It's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Your name and where are you calling from, please?
My name is Ibrahim Kakra, calling from Bukuru.
Okay, you're calling from Bukuru, is that?
Yes.
That's lovely. Okay, what's...
This is a very essential segment of your program. Very, very essential.
All right, thank you.
In Bukuru, to be sincere, we don't know anything about dividend of democracy.
Oh, I see.
Initially, when the president was on seat of the government, we make an attempt to repair our roads, more especially inside Bukuru.
Yes.
With the crisis, affected everything. Ever since, nothing has been done in Bukuru.
Oh, my.
In terms of everything. No road, no water.
No.
We have one of the largest units in Bukuru.
All right.
So something very large work. All the time we keep on working, nothing to show.
All right.
Okay, sir. We are calling on the government, please, let them look at our side.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. I think, Prof,
Yeah.
you see, we have a lot of issues to review this morning. Our viewer and our listener, this segment is not gone, but we will just put a stop to it even as we begin to look at issues on our national daily. When we come back, the last segment of Unity Trend this morning, which will be at 9 to 9:30, it's going to be your segment. You just compile all of those things you would want to call attention to that bothers you as a community, even as an individual. That segment is dedicated to you. So please stay tuned. But for now, we would love to continue with the main deal of this segment, which of course is newspaper review.
Yes.
But Prof, where do we even begin? I remember in your words, you always encourage me, you can start anywhere.
Yeah,
The beautiful thing is that you have started.
If a house is flooded and you want to handle the flood, then you enter. Where do you start from? Start from anywhere.
Just start from anywhere.
Yes,
It's
that's
beautiful. All right, so we have ASU. ASU declares nationwide indefinite strike, joins NLC TUC. ASU
Well,
joining in this.
It's not only ASU.
Yes.
I think people love to put ASU's name there because ASU is known for maybe strikes, and because ASU is one of the strongest members
Yes,
of the NLC. And in fact, ASU is probably the only union among all the other unions that make up NLC and TUC that can stand on their own and bring the government to a standstill, bring the nation to a standstill with our strike. So NLC has declared a nationwide strike that started at midnight of entering this day. So currently the strike is on. Of course, we understand that the federal government, in its characteristic approach, and always doing emergency, bringing emergency measures, has called the labor unions for a meeting today. But it's unfortunate that the federal government has to wait until a strike is declared and commences before you begin to negotiate or talk about the strike. But I think let's look at the issue holistically. Because I have somewhat against the federal government, against NLC, and the various unions. Probably let me begin with NLC. Why declare an indefinite strike? And the main reason is because the NLC president was assaulted, brutalized. When the average Nigerian has been suffering assault for many years, did NLC declare any strike? The average Nigerian cannot eat 1 meal a day. Did NLC declare strike? Today could be if you are brutalized and harassed on Bauchi Road. Is NLC going to declare a strike? You know, I mean, I understand the principle that says that an injury to one is an injury to all.
Yes.
You know, but that has not been the practice. In the past, even some smaller NLC officials have been harassed. Harassed, and NLC did not declare a strike. Why declare a national strike, ground the entire economy of the country? Because our president of NLC was harassed, assaulted, and brutalized. Have we exhausted every other avenue to resolve the issue before declaring a nationwide strike that will paralyze the economy? Do you know what is going to happen to the widow that is struggling to survive? Do you know what is going to happen to children who are supposed to be in school? Do you know what is going to happen to the average businessman that is struggling, you know, so for his business to stand? And you just declare a strike, the entire nation will be paralyzed just because of one man, Joe Ajero. I am by no means supporting the federal government's harassment and security agencies, their excesses and all that, but what I'm saying is that we could have done this better, in a better way. Now, let's look at the angle of the federal government. Why did the federal government have to allow this to get to this point? Why did they ignore the warnings of Labour? I mean, Labour had threatened to go on strike, but the federal government did not, and probably they felt that they dare not try it, they should not, dare it. And the federal government quickly went to the industrial court, like they usually do, and they got an injunction to stop the strike. Now they are saying the strike is illegal because the industrial court has stopped NLC and TUC from going on strike. But we know in this country that the federal government does not even obey the court. How many times have the federal government violated court orders, gone against court orders? How many court orders right now are on and the federal government has not obeyed any of them? But they are always very fast to go and get a court order to stop a strike. So you see that the federal government is wrong. And I think it's high time that our courts should stop being tools in the hands of the government. Anytime the government wants something, they quickly go to the court and get an injunction. But the same federal government, if you get an injunction for them to do something, they will not obey. They will violate the court order. But they expect everybody, to obey them. So the federal government is wrong. NLC is also wrong. You don't go against a court order. There is a court order, subsisting court order, that the strike should not hold, but in spite of that, NLC and TUC are adamant and have gone ahead, to declare strike and to make us stay at home today. Only God knows for how long it is going to last. Now, this is what happens when you are in a lawless country. A lawless country where the federal government does not obey the law. A lawless country where unions also can dare the federal government and say, go to hell. We also will not obey since you don't obey. This is what happens. And this is what we've been saying for a long time, that the federal government must learn to be lawful. If you learn to obey court orders, other unions will follow suit. I mean, the federal government today can say, look, we've never violated any court order, so why are you violating? But the federal government cannot say so, because they have violated several court orders. And they only obey court orders at their own convenience. So it's unfortunate that the nation is grounded today. We don't know how long this will continue, maybe tomorrow, day after, but it is an indefinite strike. And it is unfortunate that the federal government is wrong. It is unfortunate that Labour is also wrong, because we must lead by example. This is the same NLC and TUC that was calling out the government for her excesses when our politicians travel out of the country for medical treatment. The same NLC TUC said that they were flying the president of NLC abroad for treatment after he was brutalized. Does it mean that there is no hospital in Nigeria that can treat Joe Ajero? He has also become like the politicians, going out of the country for treatment.
Maybe because of security.
For which security?
If he was that threatened.
I mean, we have fantastic hospitals in Nigeria. that can treat any case. So Labour should not have even imagined or thought of, flying Joe Ajero out of the country, for treatment, as was carried in the news days ago. Now, NLC, TUC, you are wrong, please. Federal government, you are also wrong. The average Nigerian is the one that is going to bear the brunt of this unfortunate decision by the federal government and by the labor unions to go on strike, and the government ignoring the labor unions. I hope that the government can do something today to resolve the issues. The issues are not issues that require rocket science. All that NLC and TUC wants is the culprits, those involved in the brutality against the NLC president, should be brought to book. That's very simple. And the various police officers in their designations should be relieved of their positions, maybe transferred to other parts of the country while the investigation goes on. And the person who led the talks, because what happened was that the NLC President Joe Ajero was going to address the unions in Imo State, and suddenly somebody came in, a prominent personality with talks, and began to assault the NLC president, and the police were there, and they did nothing until the situation had gotten really bad. The NLC president, his hands were tied like a common criminal, and he was being dragged on the floor, and the police refused to intervene until when things had gotten completely out of hand. And you can imagine, why would the police be selective? Of course, later, they had to so-called intervene after the harm had already been done. But what Labour is saying is that, look, the police were there when this was happening. There was a government in Imo State. There was a governor who is supposed to be the chief security officer of the state. And all of them knew that this was happening, but they did nothing, absolutely nothing about it. So they must be held accountable. That is what Labour is saying. But my only grounds with Labour is, we don't need a nationwide strike for this to happen.
Okay, Prof, don't you think this is the language that the federal government seems to understand? This is the only language the government, so probably Comrade Joe have chosen, and his people choose to do this because probably the federal government will not even want to listen. But with this, of course, the federal government will respond. And again, this, like you have established, Prof, many Nigerians have been brutalized. Nothing of such was done. Okay, now the very man who of representing the common Nigerians in some way, somehow, is now brutalized. It means there is no one is going to be spared. So probably this is time to actually speak the language that the federal government understands. Don't you think so, Prof?
Could be if NLC and TUC were on strike today because Nigerians are suffering, because there is insecurity, because Nigerians are dying of hunger and starvation, because the economy has come to a standstill, because salaries are not being paid, because the country is in a state of anarchy and pandemonium, because that people cannot afford to feed themselves, cannot pay school fees, cannot transport themselves, because that many Nigerians are leaving the country, they're jabbering out to various countries and losing their lives in the process. If NLC and TUC were on strike today because of that, every one of us will support them. Every one of them, 100%. Including you.
Yes,
you'll be celebrating them. All our viewers and listeners will have been celebrating NLC and TUC today. But this strike appears to be selfish. It appears to be self-indulgent for the benefit of NLC president. It is like my ego, has been humiliated. So the federal government should pay. And so I hold the whole nation to ransom. Do you know the implications of NLC and TUC going on strike? It means bringing the whole of Nigeria to a standstill. Because one man was brutalized. Of course, they can bring in other reasons and attach them, as attachments, but the main reason is because of what happened at Owerri, that the NLC president was assaulted. This is not enough. There are other means of seeking redress. Did NLC go to court? They can go to court on this issue. Don't they have the evidence? They have the pictures. They have the video. Why didn't they go to court? If the courts fail, then you can decide to go on strike. Why didn't they use our traditional fathers, our traditional rulers, their fathers in the land, to speak to the government so that the government can take action? Why didn't they involve the international community, various NGOs? They should have exhausted every means of resolving this issue before bringing the whole country to a standstill. I have no problem. We are used to strikes. We go on strike, every now and then as the need arises. But in this particular case, it is not good enough for Labour to bring the whole country to a standstill because of one man, one man's ego. Do you know what is going to happen in our hospitals today? Do you know what is going to happen in the airports today? Do you know what is going to happen in our schools today? Do you know how many people are going to lose their lives today because NLC and TUC are on strike? Do you know how many people are going to die? This is what we're talking about. Before you ground the whole system, you should weigh the consequences. You should count the cost. Because Joe Ajero, comrade, was brutalized, assaulted, it's not enough to make other people die as a result of this. There are other things we could have done. So, NLC, TUC in this case, please, you're wrong. Federal government, you're even more wrong. Because this is an issue that you could have addressed a long time ago. Industrial code, of course, federal government made the industrial code to quickly, pass an injunction, stopping the strike. Also, I sometimes wonder what is happening in this country. The government can have her way any day, any time, but the commoners, the common citizens of Nigeria are suffering. They are dying. They will go to court for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. They can't get justice. Do you know the other day here in Jos? I met a woman who has been going to court for 17 years and she has not gotten justice. 17 years on a land issue, a land matter. She has not gotten justice for 17 years.
Yes.
But the federal government will go to court within 24 hours. They will get an injunction. But the commoners will be going to court until they die. They have not gotten justice. So the federal government is wrong. NLC is also wrong for paralyzing the economy, paralyzing the country, paralyzing every sector, just because Comrade Joe Ajero was assaulted. I wish they could have done it better.
All right, Prof, let's, we have some time to deal with that later on in the next segment, but let's see to other issues. I think we'll just go on a break. But before we do, street sweeper begs live jail for defiling teenage girl. That's one there. And another one says, Bayelsa Governor, INEC declares the winner of governorship elections. And I have this one too. This one says, there was no election in Kogi on Saturday. Dino Milai cries out. And so we have another one says, another bold accident in Taraba claims over 20 lives. And these are the issues that we have at the moment. We just have 2 minutes. Of course, we just talk on any of the ones I've tabled, and then we just go on a break. Prof, you can start anywhere. You are becoming very emotional.
The issue in Taraba State is unfortunate because it's the same local government we talked about.
Yes, again.
A few weeks ago, Karen Lamy, the local government in Taraba State. Yet another boat mishap. 20 lives lost. How long are we going to continue like this? Something needs to be done decisively. And one thing that this boat, I don't know what to call them, the owners of these boats always seem to forget, is the people don't have life jackets. You carry overload of people, And nobody even has any life jacket on him. So if there is a mishap on the river and the people don't know how to swim, even if they know how to swim, sometimes the water waves is so much that even the best swimmer cannot survive. There are parts of the river you get to that you will not be able to survive swimming back to the river bank. You know, I know in River Benue, for example, there is a part of the river that people call it Kogimutu, a river of death. Anybody that enters that particular place usually will die. So this is something the government should address, and address decisively. It's high time some action is taken. The other issue about the teenager, 14-year-old in Ikeja, Lagos, that was defiled. The street cleaner or whoever he calls himself, the man said that the girl is his girlfriend.
All right.
If she's a girlfriend, she's 14 years old. That's a minor. And he defiled this minor. And even gave her some tablet to take, and she started bleeding. That's why when the issue was exposed. How long are we going to be having this sexual promiscuity in our society? How long are we going to be having sexual assault? Now he has been given a life sentence. His name is going to be on the sexual offenders registry in Lagos. And I hope that other states can emulate Lagos by creating that sexual offenders registry. When somebody commits a sexual offense, his name should be permanently on that registry, so that people will know that this person is a sexual predator.
Prof, we'll have to go on a break. When we come back, by then you must have rested and then look into other issues, please. Thank you very much, Prof. Our listener and our viewer, it's time for us to go on a short break. And when we come back, we bring in another dimension of the conversation this morning. Please stay tuned.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your
Unity? Unity TV.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the worrisome increase in the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The FSRCC and NBC hereby advises the general public to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Make sure to verify the licensing status of such companies and schemes on this website. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call 0700 225 5226, 0800 225 5226, or +234 817 665 6273. Let's work together to uphold the integrity of Nigeria's financial system. Announcer, FSRCC.
Get ready to be entertained and inspired by the incredible stories around the globe. Don't miss out on the excitement. Hello at Work is an ultimate TV program that brings to you the interesting stories and daily happenings worldwide. Join us Mondays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. as we dive into the daily happenings and stories. Tune in and stay. Say hello to the world as you bring in your ideas, as it is a perfect blend of entertainment and information. Get ready to stay up to date while being entertained.
Please pay attention, it starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. Say it's just business, all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. Say it's just business, all about the money. got business to run. So you look away the other way.
It concerns you. It a kill law, it a kill dreams. It a land people for jail. War against drug abuse. Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead.
Thank you for staying tuned with us on Unity 93.3 FM. Don't forget, today is Tuesday, the 14th day in the month of November 2023. And in the studio, it has been Professor Proveno H. Mayi, and together we have dealt with the recent segment of Unity Training, and this very time we have a topic to discuss, and it promises to be very, very interesting. And so, but before we bring up the topic for discussion with Professor, I would love Professor to just in the next 3 or 5 minutes, or even thereabout, talk about issues of Bayelsa and Kogi. Dino Malai is saying that there was no elections at all in Kogi, and Diri is declared winner. That's the other one, but all of the two is politics. So
absolutely. Well, we want to congratulate His Excellency Diri, who has been elected as the governor of Bayelsa State. Of course, earlier on, Hob Uzodima has been declared the governor of Imo State. And of course, Usman Ododo declared governor of Kogi State. Bayelsa State politics is a complicated one, just like some other states in Nigeria. The rivalry between APC and PDP, Bayelsa State is worrisome. As expected, it was a fight between Timipre Silva and the incumbent. Nigeria, usually the incumbent governor will have an upper hand. And this is what we see playing out in the incumbent emerging as the governor of Bayelsa State. Of course, there was some violence, even a loss of 1 or 2 lives in Bayelsa as a result of the elections. And the Bayelsa State governor coming out to accuse his opponent, Timipre Silva, of playing politics of violence, that he has always been known for violence. That's an accusation from Duye. But I think congratulations to the governor of Bayelsa State, governor-elect, and we hope that he will serve the people of Bayelsa State very well and discharge his duties as he's expected to. Now, in Kogi State, we have our friend and brother Dino Melai saying there was no election. Of course, I understand the angle from which he's coming, because in Kogi State, before the election took place, results were already written for different polling units, and evidence was even presented to INEC. As we're talking right now, INEC is investigating some of this. INEC has come out to admit that some of what the people said actually happened. But INEC has already declared Ododo as the governor-elect of Kogi State, because in their own judgment, the places where malpractices, election frauds took place, if you count the votes, it will not be enough to nullify the election of Ododo. But Dino Melai is saying no election took place, and unfortunately, we make mistakes when we generalize. You can say no election took place in some parts, but you cannot say the whole of Kogi State, no election took place. You know, the election rigging, fraud in Nigeria is so prevalent, and it is so amazing. You know, a few years ago, I was really flabbergasted by the level of election fraud and rigging because I knew somebody who was involved in politics. And the people were going to vote. And he said that the governor has told them not to worry, that the results will be declared that night, later that day. And the governor already had the results with him. Yes. Amazingly, do you know just the way the governor told them the results were declared as it was written? And even places I knew could be, places I knew there was no election, they were given results in those places. So people voted, so voted for this party, whatever. There was no election was held in those places. So that's the kind of system we have, unfortunately. But it happened in some parts of Kogi State. But you cannot say that it happened everywhere in Kogi State. We are hoping that one day Nigeria can grow to the level where we have elections that are credible. As it is today, we still don't have credible elections. Anybody who wins elections is just a matter of, you can't really say you really won the elections.
You can really
because a lot goes into the results of elections in Nigeria. Election results can be changed at the last minute. And that's what happens in this country. But we're hoping that soon we'll have electronic voting that will be done in real time and using computer systems that cannot be hacked with high security. Just the way you use your ATM to withdraw money, from the bank and other transactions. We hope that we get to the point where we can just slot in our cards and vote, and it will be one person, one vote, and there will not be any rigging. Until then, we will continue to have issues like this, where there is a lot of rigging and malpractices during elections.
Of course, Prof, at this point, let's just pin the topic for conversations and discussion today. Okay, yes, our viewer and listener, this is that time for us to bring up the topic for discussion. It's about time for us as a people to see how best we can introduce the strategies with which to manage the prevalence of strike here and there, moment after moment. And so we have in the studio, like I've told you, Professor P.H. Bamai. Together we'll be talking about managing union strikes in Nigeria. We don't have much time, and so Prof, I just give it to you. So how is it necessary that we even find ways to manage union strikes in Nigeria?
Yes, thank you very much, Akubi. Viewers and listeners, this is a very important topic because almost every union in Nigeria has gone on one strike or the other in their history. Teachers have gone on strike. Student union governments have gone on strike, on demonstrations. Hospital workers have gone on strike. Doctors who deal with life have had to down tools because certain things were not done that should have been done. Of course, university lecturers were known for strikes. So there is hardly any union in Nigeria that you can think of. As we are talking right now, the workers in our parliament, the National Assembly, on one kind of strike or the other. Sometimes it is even journalists. And sometimes it's even the police that want to go on strike, So it seems to be a serious problem in our country that is affecting every sector. The only people I hope that they can go on strike are the politicians. Let them go on strike so that we take over the government from them.
You actually look forward to having them go on strike.
Oh, man, I can't wait for that day when the politicians with damn tools will take over the government from them.
And there hasn't been any sign that they will
politicians
go to strike anytime soon.
Will not go on strike because of what is involved. Those guys are enjoying themselves at our own expense.
You're making me laugh too wide.
They're enjoying themselves at our own expense, so they will not down tools. Politicians will not go on strike. Why? Because they are the ones who make the laws. They are the ones who implement the laws. They are the ones who fix their own salaries and allowances and emoluments. And they do it so generously that they take good care of themselves at the detriment of taxpayers, the average Nigerian.
What a generosity.
So, unions will continue to go on strike in this country if we don't do the necessary thing. Do you know that I was talking with someone some years back about strikes in Nigeria? This person is from another country, and the person was asking me, strike? What does that mean? Why do you go on strike?
Strike is...
Yeah, because in their own system, they think since she grew up, she has never, seen them go on strike.
So
they have a country where the economy, everything works well, so they don't understand why people should down tools and refuse to work. But in our own system, we have strike. Unfortunately, even some parts of the developed world, there is one form of strike or the other. Let's even look at small statistic about strikes in this country. ASU, let's take ASU as a case study.
Why not?
Because I belong to ASU. Do you know that between 1999 and 2022, we've gone on 16 different strikes? And I can give us the statistics. In 1999, we were on strike for 5 months. ASU was on strike for 5 months.
5 months.
2001, strike for 3 months. 2002, strike for 2 weeks. 2003, strike for 6 months. 2005, strike for 2 weeks. 2006, for 3 days. 2007, 3 months. 2008, 1 week. 2009, 4 months. 2010, 5 months. 2011, 59 days. 2013, 5 months. 2017, 1 month. 2018, 3 months. 2020, 9 months. 2022, 8 months. And still counting.
And still counting.
Maybe more to come.
2029 months.
So,
wow.
In ASU, we've been having strikes. But the strikes did not start with ASU. The first time we had a major labor union strike in this country, it wasn't a formal body per se. And that is the Aba Women's Riot in 1929. The women organized themselves to bring the economy to a standstill. Thousands of women, over 25,000 women, took to the streets. And they held the colonial government to ransom until their demands were met. Not only that, in 1945. In 1945, while we were still under colonial rule, there was a strike in this country. The labor unions came together, all of them, and there was a strike against the colonial government of Nigeria.
So the country somehow has a history.
We have a long history of strikes. Because people talk about ASU. ASU officially came into being in 1978. Of course, before then, we had been part of what was called the Teachers Association of Nigeria, something like that. But in 1978, ASU was formally inaugurated as ASU. So, but before then, there have been different kinds of strikes in this country. That 1945 was just after the Second World War. The world was trying to come out of the Second World War. The economy was bad. The salaries were not worth it. The wages, take-home pays were not taking people home. And over 200,000 workers in Nigeria were involved in a strike that involved more than 70 different trade unions in the country.
Take-home people were not taking people home.
Was not taking people home. So the colonial government of Nigeria had to respond because the trade union workers of Nigeria held them to ransom and brought the entire country to a standstill. So union strikes have a long history in this country. And the reason why we keep having this is because the leaders are not doing the right thing. I mean that a laborer is worthy of his wages.
Yes.
Why do you have people working for you and you don't pay them? Do you know that even when I don't pay myself. Even when I don't have a salary, I have to pay my domestic workers. I have to think about them. If it means borrowing money, getting money anywhere, I have to make sure they are paid. Because they are working for me. A worker deserves his wages, is worthy of his wages. But we are living in a country where workers are owed salaries for months, humongous amounts that the government has not paid. Some of us have been owed up to today. The government has not paid. The government is not even talking about paying. We have people working at local government level. They have not been paid for months. Some states have not paid. Unfortunately, some of the state governors that are not paying their workers have been re-elected back to office. You know that Imo has the problem about how the workers are treated. But the governor has been re-elected and getting votes in every local government, winning all the local government areas in Imo State for the first time probably in the history of Imo State. So you keep having this all over the country because people are disenfranchised, because people are discontented, because people feel harassed by their employers, because people feel undervalued by their employers. So we keep having trade union strikes again and again and again and again because those who are in position of authority, who are supposed to do the right thing, are not doing the right thing. So if we are going to be managing trade union strikes in Nigeria, we'll have to think of what do the workers really need? What kind of living wage should we give the workers? Because let me tell you the truth. If there is a living wage for the average worker in Nigeria, and the average worker in Nigeria is satisfied or is comfortable, nobody will be talking about strikes. Except in cases of assault and brutalization or harassment of workers. Otherwise, if the people are a bit comfortable, then we're not going to be having trade union strikes. But as long as the government continues to treat workers like nobodies, as if they are not important, and we glorify politicians, politicians are treated as kings and queens and gods and goddesses, we'll keep having this problem. Because trade unions will keep agitating for better conditions of service. Because you see, one of the main reasons why we have trade union strikes is because conditions of service are not favorable. Imagine that you're working in a system that doesn't care about your welfare. How much is given to us for health from our salaries? How much is paid to us for the hazards that we're daily exposed to? How much is given to us to relax? You know, as workers, the politicians will give themselves even wardrobe allowances. Do other workers have wardrobe allowances? Or don't you? Or they are not human beings? They shouldn't have wardrobes.
They have recess.
You see, the politicians will give themselves entertainment allowances. Other workers should not entertain themselves or entertain their own visitors. Is it only the politicians that deserve it? So when you have double standards, where some people are highly prized, are treated better than others, you have the situation of the animal farm. In animal farm where all animals